Now, I don't know if it's just me that thinks this, but the 2025/26 season has actually been cinema. And no, I'm not talking about go down to the local cinema, you know, Odeon cinema with your friends and go get some popcorn, yeah. No, I'm talking about absolute hands over head cinema. Since the start of the season, there have been games that people are not even remembering. You know, did you guys remember that PSG played Barcelona in the Champions League group stage table league phase? Yeah, that happened. And it was a brilliant game. But there was a bunch of stuff that has happened so far this season, and we gotta just talk about some of it. We've seen the likes of Arsenal dominate Bayern Munich, Chelsea dominate Barcelona, scorelines in all competitions that just made no sense. You know, who thought a game between PSG and Spurs would end 5-3? We've also got the likes of Mbappe, Haaland and Kane going at each other like this is Neymar, Messi and Ronaldo, all fighting for the chance to get their hands on the Ballon d'Or. But these times there, it's gonna probably be like Vitinha if he wins the Champions League with PSG. We've also now seen the return of Pogba, and I know it was for like 5 minutes, but still, Paul Pogba is back. We've also got breakout stars in the Serie A with Nico Paz and a 39-year-old Jamie Vardy scoring goals for Cremonense. Now, football throughout the years has had patches, but I'm not someone to talk about football and just bring negativity. I like to just talk about the positive moments in football that I just like to see. And so far this season, the script has been unpredictable, and especially for Premier League fans, because going into this season, we all thought, you thought, your sister thought, everyone thought that Liverpool were just going to dominate. Signing the likes of Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, we were saying call off the league. They already brought in Ekitike. They don't need this many players. But it's nearly the new year and Liverpool are nowhere to be seen at the top of the table. And Chelsea have crept their way up into a title race themselves. They are so back and we are so back as football fans, because who saw this coming? Who really saw this bald head instead of this bald head going this high up in the table this early on? I don't know. Of course, Arsenal are behaving like an absolute problem, and it's clear to see that. I made an entire video just about Arsenal's season so far, and even though they're top of the Premier League and top of the Champions League phase, Chelsea and Maresca's bald head went to Arsenal and got a draw. A draw that honestly felt like a win for a lot of Chelsea fans, because for the majority of this game, they were down to 10 men, but held their own against an Arsenal side that have been applauded as the best team in football right now. Yet Chelsea just turned up and dominated, with the likes of Reece James transforming into something that we have never seen. You know, this guy moving like a box-to-box midfielder. S tier. And of course, yes, I know Reece James played for midfield at Wigan and he won the player of the season, blah blah blah, we all know. But this was not seen in the prophecy. This was not written that Reece James was going to be dominating midfields against Arsenal in the Premier League. Bro, sit down. But enough about Arsenal. Let's continue to get on to these Liverpool fans, because at the start of the season, we thought it. Everyone thought that they were going for it all. But after a run of 9 losses in 12 games in all competitions, they are looking lost. A 4-1 defeat at the hands of PSV. PSV, bro. This is not PSG. PSV. They got used and dashed out the window. Arne Slot didn't know what was coming for him. But still, there is hope, because Alexander Isak just scored his first goal in Liverpool colours. He scored a goal against West Ham recently. West Ham. He didn't really play that good throughout the game. He missed multiple opportunities, but eventually he got his goal. And I think this is what we need to see from Liverpool. Because of course we can slander Isak, we can slander Wirtz. But when Isak and Wirtz played together against West Ham and the likes of Mohamed Salah was dropped, we saw Liverpool actually embrace this new system that Arne Slot is trying to implement. So maybe the system isn't the problem. Maybe it's the individuals that Arne Slot is utilizing in the system. So maybe you have to take out Salah to get the best out of your side. There's big decisions that have to go in to this guy's round head, and he's got to make them fast, because we're going into 2026 now, and this is serious mode. This is where things start to pick up and clubs start to get points. There's a run-in of games for Liverpool that seem like they can take advantage of, and they do need to take advantage of it by getting win after win after win. We've also seen the likes of Manchester City's frailties and also brilliance this season so far, with Haaland honestly coming back on this sort of villain arc. You know, this guy was cosplaying as the Joker in Halloween times, and now he's actually is the the Joker, bagging in goals week in and week out. Already hitting double figures in the league and putting himself up there as one of the top performers in football right now. In Spain, we've of course got the classic title race between the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, with both of these sides failing to deliver the goods really, because they have both been fragile, to say the least. Both of these sides don't know really what they're doing. You know, Hansi Flick is still playing a high line that's so high, it's got a wedgie. You know, this high line's got a wedgie, bro. It's way too high. But slowly but surely, you are seeing the star men from last season come back into the realm. You know, Rafinha is coming back from injury. He started the other day and played very well. And I know they're still missing Pedri, but once all of the key players are back playing in that system, we are going to see these players thrive under Hansi Flick again. And while Barcelona are trying to figure things out and tweak the system, Real Madrid are making the system themselves. You know, they're on ChatGPT. How can I make a football team play good? Because it seems like two of the only players that are playing good for Real Madrid right now are Kylian Mbappe and Arda Güler. And it's not like this team don't have the star power. They have the Avengers. Let me just pick out a centre back from Bournemouth that was breaking through as one of the best in the league. Bring him to the Bernabeu and now he's just another player in the system. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the best right back in the Premier League for Liverpool, let's just take him and now he's just another player in a dead system. Vinicius Jr., who a couple seasons back was a Ballon d'Or contender and someone that got robbed, let me just take him and now he's just a system man. The only player that is really thriving under Xabi Alonso is Kylian Mbappe, and it is because he is Kylian Mbappe. And if you look at his underlying stats, he's got the goals, he's getting the assists, but he's also had so many chances created. Like, if you compare his chances created to the likes of Haaland and Kane, who he's also in the running for as, you know, the top goal scorer in all competitions, Mbappe is creating the chances but also scoring them himself, leading in the Champions League scoring tables too, especially after that performance that we saw I think a week ago against Olympiacos. This guy scored 4 goals and a hat-trick in like 20 minutes. In Italy, we are witnessing a strange race to win a Scudetto because it seems like all of the sides don't really want it enough. Right now it's pretty much a royal rumble at the top of the Serie A, with the likes of Milan, Napoli, Inter, Roma, you know, throw Como in there too. These teams are all within a point of each other and you can't really tell them apart when they play each other too. Roma under Gasperini have turned into a horrible team to play against, barely conceding and winning a lot of tight games. Just imagine if this Roma side does the unthinkable. That will be something that nobody would have predicted come the start of the season. And in this league, if you're watching week in and week out, it's like with any given game you can just fall out of the top 4. And while that's going on, you've got Jamie Vardy just having a party with Cremonense, scoring against the likes of Bologna in a 3-1 win. He's doing madman celebrations in front of ultras, and I think there's just something about a Premier League cult hero doing it in another league that just warms the hearts of football fans. In Germany, it seems like it's business as usual for Bayern Munich because they have just taken this league and made it their own again. Something like Lewandowski and Müller when they were playing for Bayern. But no, in this timeline, it's Harry Kane and Michael Olise. They've pretty much been top non-stop since the start of the year, with them going on a massive winning streak since the start of the season. Their first real loss was against Arsenal. A loss that really shook up football because Bayern Munich were looking like the most informed team in football and also one of the most dominant. And one thing about this Vincent Kompany side that we need to remember is that they almost always respond when they lose. It's something that Kompany has just instilled in these players. You know, you've seen him in training videos. He's actually defending himself like him in his prime. He's defending in the training videos, helping out this side. He wants these players to get better. And slowly but surely, this side is going to get better. And they still got star men that are injured and making their way back through rehab. In France, it's also a similar story with familiar faces leading the charge. But let's not forget to talk about this side full of, you know, prisoners in Marseille. You know, this team is doing bits here and there. You know, in Europe, in the league, they got players that are outstanding, but others that should not be named. But wait, Jib, you forgot to talk about one team that is actually at the top of Ligue 1. Lens. Yes, Lens for you guys that can't pronounce. They are at the top and it is kind of weird, but also we all inevitably know that PSG are going to win the league, but they're doing their thing. You know, no one really thinks that watches French football that Lens are going to win, you know, Ligue 1. But Edouard is doing his thing. You know, their attack are doing their thing, but they are just having one of them seasons. But if I'm being completely honest, it's just PSG making their lives hard. You know, they don't really care about the league. They just mess about. They also at one point didn't have a lot of their key men, and they were just playing youngsters week in and week out. Luis Enrique doesn't even watch the games, you know, on the line. He's in the stands for the first half, then comes down after. Like, this whole league is just an experiment. I don't know how it's still going. Who is funding this? It's just awful. But awful in like a good way, because you can't really predict what's going to happen. But again, I must reiterate that PSG are still the favourites. They still have the deepest squad. They are just playing and they're just doing their thing. And slowly but surely, let's see in a couple months from now how that league is shaping up. And let's not all lie and say that PSG are having a bad season, because we've seen them take it there in the Champions League. Like in the game where PSG went up against Barcelona in the Champions League phase. This was peak entertainment. People forget because this happened so early on, but this was a game to marvel at. And even though PSG didn't have their proper front three starting, they still ended up winning the game, and Nuno Mendes and Hakimi played absolutely brilliant, with Nuno Mendes honestly going 1v1. You know, with Lamine Yamal. This was just them going back and forth the entire game, with Nuno Mendes coming out on top at times and Lamine Yamal just having moments where he was in flow state, going past players, dribbling round players, doing roulettes. It was an amazing game to watch, and eventually it would be Gonzalo Ramos that would get the winner for PSG in the game. That was a league phase game that honestly felt like it should have been the Champions League final last season. And the Champions League in itself has felt like a fever dream this season. Big ties with big games, you know, the likes of Arsenal just dusting off Bayern Munich, handing Bayern their first defeat in the season in dominant fashion, especially after a first half that had Arsenal fans shaking in their boots. You know, the likes of Lennart Karl coming to the Emirates and just, he had twinkle toes at times. He was dribbling past players. Michael Olise was causing havoc on that right hand side. But the Arsenal players recalibrated at half time and went at the Bayern Munich team. Then of course you had Chelsea just dismantling Barcelona. They let Barcelona come to Stamford Bridge, and Lamine Yamal got locked up by Cucurella. You know, Caicedo was moving like prime Makelele. Esteval was trying to show the world who he is, you know, scoring, and the likes of Liam Delap scoring. They would eventually win the game 3-0. It was amazing. You had Barcelona going to St James's Park and winning 2-1 with Marcus Rashford putting up a masterclass. Arsenal going up against Manchester City early on in the season with Haaland, you know, getting in behind the likes of Saliba and Gabriel, the two best defenders in the league and maybe the world. And then this hype in football has just extended onto the international stage too, with the World Cup qualifiers. I don't even know if I have to mention it, but Ireland pulling off a 2-0 victory against Portugal and Ronaldo, with Ronaldo getting sent off in the game. Then they go on to win 3-2 against Hungary deep into stoppage time via Troy Parrott, with Troy Parrott honestly marking his name in Irish folklore. You know, this guy, we ain't talking about leprechauns no more. I'm talking about Troy Parrott. At the end of the rainbow, you're going to find this guy. Scotland also had a big moment that sent them into contention for the World Cups too. England would also cruise during the qualifying rounds and not lose a single game. And I think a lot of it has to be put down to Foden's assist to Eze. Bro, this assist was generational. Slow it down. Zoom in. That pass, amazing. Don't know about the finish though. Bit dodgy. And then we've also just had random moments, like the other day when Van Persie brought on his son. Bro subbed in his own regen for Feyenoord. Pretty much in this 2025/26 season so far, I'ma just say it, we are so back. And this has only just been a couple months into the season. We've got a whole other half. We got 2026 football to think about. And of course I missed many things out in this video, but you guys tell me, what's been your favorite moment of the 2025/26 season in football so far? And of course we'll round up the entire season at the end of it, but this was just me talking about my feelings about this season so far. So of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel if you are new to it. You can support the channel even more by going to jibrules.store to get yourself a t-shirt like this. We have new drops coming next month, aka next year, and they're gonna be better than this, if I'm being honest. But this is one of the designs, and yeah, you can support the channel by going over there. And yeah, stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.